Many breaking news are coming in as we come on the air. Hi and very warm welcome at Amir Shackle 5858. I am Amir Shackle. Following news headlines have been reported by world major English news channels and news agencies. So please watch it.
Thousands of residents along the Queensland and New South Wales coasts race against the clock, preparing for the onslaught of tropical cyclone Alfred.
The wave, wind, rainfall, and particularly the storm surge presented significant risks.
America is back.
Donald Trump delivers his address to Congress outlining his vision to change America. China sets an ambitious growth target of 5% and commits to its rapid military expansion. And turning the corner, Australian GDP figures tick higher, arresting months of decline. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Catherine Robinson, coming to you.
Tonight, the president poised to address a divided nation as he goes to battle on trade and stuns the world, freezing aid to Ukraine. The high-stakes speech at a pivotal moment of the Trump presidency, the deep cuts, slashing budgets, and federal workers 6 weeks in. Elon Musk expected to be on hand. The sudden shut-off of aid to Ukraine as they fight off the Russian invasion. Moscow praising the move. President Zelensky calling that Oval Office meeting regrettable. And where do things stand with the mineral deal? The market roller coaster as the president deepens the trade war, but could a compromise be in the works? The major tariffs against Canada, Mexico, and China. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau swiftly retaliating. Beijing set to levy tariffs on beef, soybeans, and more. And Target CEO warning the price of fruits and vegetables from Mexico could go up in just days. Over 100 million under wind alerts from a monster cross-country storm. Serious damage in Oklahoma. The intense dust storm in Texas. Mardi Gras cut short. Al Roker is here as the severe storm threat lingers through tomorrow. Stunning video. Lawmakers deploying smoke grenades in Parliament in Europe. What started it? And speaking from space, what Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams told us as they finally get set to return home.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News. Good evening, I'm Maurice Dubois.
I'm John Dickerson. When President Trump addresses Congress tonight, he'll be standing before the only group of Americans empowered to declare war, just hours after he started one, a trade war, whose first casualties were investors.
New import taxes took effect today, 25% on goods from Canada and Mexico, and doubling to 20% on goods from China. That was followed quickly by threats of retaliation and another sell-off on Wall Street.
Stocks plunged. The Dow lost 1.5%. A total of 3% since the president announced the tariffs yesterday.
But this may be a short war. Peace talks are already underway. The Commerce Secretary says he's been on the phone with Canada and Mexico.
Polls suggest it was the economy more than anything that got Mr. Trump elected. Now, Caitlin Huey-Burns reports Americans are watching closely to see how he handles it. Caitlin?
Hey, John, that's right. The economy helped put Donald Trump back in the White House, and it's expected to be a key pillar of his speech tonight. We're told he's going to talk about lowering prices for Americans, even if his tariff plan threatens to raise them. We traveled to York, Pennsylvania, to get an assessment, a report from voters and residents about how they think he's handling the economy. 29-year-old CJ Weigel helps run his family's commercial printing shop, Ream Printing, in York, Pennsylvania. 61% of the county voted for President Trump. How would you describe this area?
We used to be a mecca for manufacturing. York was a real true leader. When I think, when you heard the president talk on the trail, it hit home for us here. We've lost a lot of jobs to foreign competitors.
Weigel voted for Trump in November and says that since the election, he's been feeling more optimistic.
How great was that? Joining us now with reaction, he is the Speaker of the House. He was standing for a big part of the night behind the President. Mike Johnson is with us. America's back. America's golden age is here. The American dream is unstoppable. Pretty amazing night. I would argue probably Donald Trump's best speech.
I loved it, Sean. It was not a speech for the mainstream media. It was a speech for the American people. And I'm sure it was received as well at home as it was there by the Republicans and the audience up in the gallery. It was really shameful what the Democrats did. I mean, they really, it was quite a spectacle. They brought shame on themselves and their party. But the American people are following what the president is delivering, and they are appreciating it. And we certainly did tonight in the chamber.
Mr. Speaker, the Democrats sat down the entire night. They could not even stand for that young man. They could not stand for Laken Riley's family. They could not stand for Jocelyn Nungary's mother. They couldn't stand for anybody. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime or Social Security. Do they stand for anything?
No, not even the terrorists that we've apprehended now that masterminded the disaster at Abbey-Gate. It was really quite a spectacle. And if they're going to use a 77-year-old heckling congressman as the face of their resistance, then bring it on. But we're not going to tolerate that on the House floor. And I don't think the American people are going to tolerate that either.
Mr. Speaker, you're the Speaker of the House. What happens to somebody like Al Green when he pulls off a stunt like that?
Well, we escorted him off the floor. He couldn't behave himself. It's quite shameful. It brought shame on, I'm sure his constituents are not proud of that tonight. But I suspect that there'll be a censure resolution brought on the floor to discipline him. We have to do that inside the House. We have to maintain decorum. Yeah.
The president laid out, a vision for the country. He not only talked about all the things that he did, getting out of the WHO, the Paris Accords, the UN Human Rights Council, etc., getting rid of the EV mandate, but he also, free speech is back, woke is dead in America, end of DEI, CRT, DOGE. He spent a lot of time on the waste, fraud, corruption, abuse, and he went on and on and on about balancing the federal budget, passing tax cuts and reciprocal tariffs, the Laken Riley Act, protecting police officers. That's just off the top of my head.
Even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
Trump's trade war begins. The anger this Tuesday night.
He attacks his closest friends and neighbors.
The anxiety.
I think everybody's on edge.
The action Canada is taking. The fears for the auto sector. And what Donald Trump is really going after. The U.S. strong arms Ukraine, suspending military aid.
This is a bitter blow.
How the EU is coming to the rescue. And how President Zelensky is trying to salvage his relationship with Trump.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening.
Catch my reporting on TV, on our website, and on all our social media platforms.
Yana Lee, one of the 200 France 24 correspondents around the world.
Hello and a very warm welcome to you. You're watching Daybreak here on France 24, and one main story for you this hour. Applauding himself for his accomplishments when it comes to cracking down on migration and culling diversity programs and transgender rights, US President Donald Trump also doubled down on his vow to take back the Panama Canal and to take over Greenland as he met his first address to Congress since returning to the White House. A speech greeted with silence from Democrats, some of them walking out during it.
Asia First.
Good morning. It's approaching 9 o'clock here in Singapore and Beijing, where we begin this hour. Chinese Premier Li Qiang will deliver the government work report this hour as Parliament begins its annual session. An official document seen by CNA shows authorities are aiming for GDP growth of around 5% this year.
China's session this hour coincides with U.S. President Donald Trump's planned speech at a joint session of Congress, where he is expected to share his agenda and goals for the upcoming year. Plus,
every country is very, very aware that if the American government is willing to do this to their own closest ally, neighbor, and friend, everyone is vulnerable to a trade war.
Canada, Mexico, and China, three of the U.S.'s top three trading partners, are rolling out retaliatory levies on a wide range of products, escalating tensions, observers say, has consequences for consumers, economies, and financial markets.
And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky proposes a framework for a ceasefire. He says he's willing to finalize his security and minerals deal with the U.S. while expressing regret over the Oval Office showdown with President Trump. But first, China's top legislature, the National People's Congress, hello and a very good morning to you. This is Sky News at 5 a.m. here in the UK. These are your latest headlines. Donald Trump proclaims America is back in his first address to Congress since returning to the White House, as he reiterates his new tariffs will make America great again. The president also tells Congress both Ukraine and Russia are ready for peace, as he talks about a letter he's received from Volodymyr Zelensky. But the speech is met with protests outside and inside the chamber, with some condemning his presidency as un-American. Also this morning,
people in total darkness and isolation, spending most of their days locked in rooms with no light.
Executed, beaten and left to die, we go inside Bangladesh's secret torture cells, allegedly used by the ousted regime to suppress dissent. And
this feels like a new chapter that I'm so excited that I get to share.
The Sussex rebrand and why it could be make or break for Prince Harry and Meghan. Hello and a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on...
Donald Trump claims President Zelensky is ready to negotiate.
Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible.
Well, it comes as reports suggest America's NATO membership hangs in the balance.
With rumours swirling, the Prime Minister is preparing to return to Washington to present a peace plan for Ukraine.
MPs condemn J.D. Vance after he appeared to disregard the British Armed Forces, saying Britain hasn't fought a war in 40 years. Here's what Nigel Farage had to say to that.
J.D. Vance is wrong. Wrong. For 20 years in Afghanistan, pro-rata, our size against America's, we spent the same amount of money, we put the same number of men and women in, and we suffered the same losses. We stood by America all through those 20 years, putting in exactly the same contribution. And all right, they may be 6 times bigger, but we did our bit. So on this one,
farmers in crisis 4 and 10 now say they expect to go out of business in the next 5 years.
Viewers dub Meghan Markle fake following the release of her new cooking show on Netflix. We're asking this morning, can she ever change the public perception of her?
I don't think anyone in the world knows that Meghan Markle has eaten Jack in the Box and loves it.
It's so funny, too, that you keep saying Meghan Markle. You know I'm Sussex now.
Leave school at 14. They could be splattered by excrement.
Nice choice of words. And sports, great win for Aston Villa away in the Champions League. Even greater win for Arsenal away in the Champions League. And Emma Raducanu has talked about her harrowing ordeal at the Dubai Open.
Big differences once again up and down the UK through today. Wet and windy in the far north, dry and sunny in the far south. Full details coming up in the forecast very soon.
It's a Wednesday morning, halfway through the week. A very good morning to you, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening. I'm Eamon Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Africa News. The news. Arab leaders on Tuesday endorsed Egypt's post-war plan for the Gaza Strip that will allow its roughly 2 million Palestinians to remain, in a counter-proposal to US President Donald Trump's plan to depopulate the territory and redevelop it as a beach destination. It was unclear if Israel or the United States will accept the Egyptian plan, whose endorsement by Arab leaders announced by Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi amounted to a widespread rejection of Trump's proposal. The office of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declined to comment. Tuesday's summit in Cairo included the Emir of Qatar, the Vice President of the United Arab Emirates, and the Foreign Minister of Saudi Arabia, countries whose support is crucial for any post-war plan, which triggered the war.
After 2 years of war, the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces and allied groups in Sudan have signed a transitional constitution on Tuesday. The RSF have been at war against the Sudanese armed forces since April 2023, triggering mass displacements, famine, and sexual violence in the country. The new constitution brings the RSF closer to setting up a parallel government.
In a shocking report, the United Nations Children's Agency has revealed that children as young as 1 year old have been victims of rape across 9 states in Sudan. UNICEF announced on Tuesday that since the start of 2024, 221 children, including boys, have been assaulted by armed individuals based on data collected by gender-based violence service provider in the region.
Data that we have from service providers in Sudan shows us that this is widespread. It has occurred in 9 states, just these 221 rape cases alone, 9 states across the country, including Gadara, Kassala, Al Jazeera, the Northern State, the River Nile, Khartoum, South Kordofan, and 2 of the Darfur states. And
Forces has exacerbated the country's humanitarian crisis.
Germany's development ministry announced Tuesday it will halt new financial pledges to Rwanda over Kigali's alleged backing of the M23 rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Berlin said Kigali was made aware of the decision in advance. The country was informed during a discussion in which the stance of the European Union and expectations of Rwanda, especially pulling its troops and ending backing for M23, were again emphasized. Germany is the latest in a series of nations to implement measures aimed at ramping up pressure on Rwanda's president. Kigali recently accused similar measures applied by the UK of doing nothing to help Congo, nor contributing to achieving a sustainable political solution to the conflict in eastern Congo. According to UN experts, around 4,000 Rwandan troops are fighting alongside M23 rebels in eastern Congo, where the rebels have made a rapid advance. After leaving court at the end of the first day of their fraud trial, former football chiefs Sepp Blatter and Michel Platini strongly denied any wrongdoing. I'm only defending my case, and naturally Michel's as well. We did nothing wrong, nothing. It would be difficult to prove that we did anything wrong. Well, at one point I asked myself the question. Too bad I played for Juventus instead of Bayern Munich, because then I would have understood everything. Because now it's complicated. I don't understand anything. Fortunately, there was an interpreter who translated everything for me. I didn't completely follow everything, it's difficult. Now the appeal raises the same questions as in the first instance, where we were completely cleared. So there you have it. We're just repeating things. It's a salary arrears issue, nothing more. There's no corruption, no scheming, nothing at all. Some people think otherwise and are trying to prove it. We are trying to prove the opposite. It comes after both were acquitted at a first trial in 2022 on charges of fraud, forgery and misappropriation of FIFA money. Swiss prosecutors appealed against that decision.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shekel 5858. I am Amir Shekel. Have a good life. Bye-bye.